Sarah and Emma's college dorm room, late at night. Sarah sat at her desk, flipping through her textbook, trying to focus on her studies. Emma was out with Victor again, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over her ever since Victor had entered their lives.
Sarah, we need to talk.
What's wrong, Emma? What happened?
Emma pulled out a small jewelry box from her bag and opened it, revealing Sarah's missing necklace. This is yours, isn't it? Sarah's hands trembled as she reached out to take the necklace. She felt a surge of anger and betrayal towards Victor, knowing that he had stolen from her. I can't believe this. How could he do this? Just then, there was a knock on the door. Sarah and Emma exchanged a wary glance before Sarah went to answer it. It was Mark, Sarah's boyfriend, looking concerned. Is everything okay? I heard raised voices. Sarah quickly filled Mark in on what had happened, showing him the stolen necklace. Mark's expression hardened, his fists clenched in anger. We need to confront Victor about this. He can't get away with stealing from you. Emma nodded, wiping away her tears. I agree. We can't let him manipulate us any longer. Together, Sarah, Emma, and Mark marched over to Victor's dorm room, ready to confront him about his actions. Sarah, Emma, Mark, and Victor sat at a table in the restaurant, perusing the menu and chatting casually. Victor seemed to be in a jovial mood, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over her whenever Victor was around. As they ordered their food, Victor made a show of examining the menu, asking the server about various dishes and ingredients. When the food arrived, Victor insisted on trying a bit of everything, even though he had ordered a separate dish for himself. As the meal progressed, Victor's behavior became increasingly demanding. He complained about the portion sizes, the presentation of the food, and even the temperature at which it was served. He called over the server multiple times, demanding that they rectify these perceived issues. Sarah, Emma, and Mark exchanged uncomfortable glances, unsure of how to handle Victor's behavior. They tried to defuse the situation, but Victor seemed intent on causing a scene. Finally, when the bill arrived, Victor made a show of examining it closely, pointing out what he perceived to be mistakes in the calculation. He argued with the server, refusing to pay until the bill was corrected to his satisfaction. After causing a scene over the bill, Mark and Sarah watched as Victor leaned in to Emma and whispered in her ear. Emma looked shocked and angry, but she reluctantly handed him her credit card. Victor made a grand gesture of putting the card down, insisting he would take care of the entire bill. Mark and Sarah were confused as Victor had never treated them to a meal before. Sarah, Emma, and Mark were mortified by Victor's behavior. They knew that his actions were unacceptable and reflected poorly on them as well. As they left the restaurant, Sarah made a mental note to talk to Emma and Mark about addressing Victor's behavior before it caused more problems. Later, when Sarah confronted Emma about the incident at the restaurant, Emma admitted that Victor had asked her to cover his meal, promising to repay her the next day. However, several days had passed, and he had yet to fulfill his promise. Emma, as a college student, was deeply concerned about her financial situation. She worked part-time jobs to support herself and was extremely careful about her spending habits. Victor's stunt at the restaurant had put her finances in a bind, causing her significant stress and worry. Sarah and Emma's dorm room, late at night. Sarah sat at her desk, going over her notes for an upcoming exam. Emma was out with friends, and Sarah was enjoying the rare moment of peace and quiet. Suddenly, Sarah heard a noise coming from Emma's side of the room. She looked up, curious, and saw Victor rummaging through Emma's belongings, a look of concentration on his face. "What are you doing, Victor?" Sarah standing up and walking over to him. Victor jumped, startled by Sarah's sudden appearance. "Oh, I was just looking for something. I thought Emma said I could borrow it." Sarah narrowed her eyes, not buying Victor's excuse. She noticed that Emma's backpack was open, and he was going through her things.
What were you really looking for, Victor? I'm sorry, but Emma isn't here right now, and I really need some quiet to study. You're welcome to come by tomorrow and ask to borrow it then. Get out, Victor. I don't want to see you in our room ever again.
Victor stood up, his expression defiant. Fine, whatever. I don't need this anyway, but I will be back. Emma is my girlfriend. I will come visit her whenever I like.
As Sarah sat there, seething with anger, she knew that she had to talk to Emma and Mark about what had happened. She couldn't let Victor's behavior go unchecked any longer, not after everything he had put them through. As they chatted about their classes and upcoming exams, Sarah noticed Emma's expression change, a look of shock and disbelief crossing her face. "What's wrong, Emma? What did you find?" Emma turned her laptop screen towards Sarah, showing her an article from the campus newspaper. The headline read, "Series of thefts plague dormitories, suspect at large." Sarah's eyes widened as she read the article, which detailed several incidents of thefts on campus, including stolen cash, jewelry, and electronics. The article mentioned that the suspect was believed to be a student living in one of the dormitories. Emma nodded, her voice trembling. "I think it's Victor. I found some of our missing items in his bag when I confronted him about the necklace. We need to report him to the campus authorities. We can't let him get away with this," Sarah said, her voice filled with determination. Emma nodded, wiping away a tear. "I agree. We need to make sure he faces the consequences of his actions," Emma said, her voice firm. Sarah and Emma sat in the campus security office, their hearts pounding with nervous anticipation. They had come to report Victor for the thefts and were prepared to face him and the consequences of their actions. As Victor was escorted into the office, Sarah and Emma felt a mix of anger and relief. They were angry at Victor for what he had done, but relieved that they were finally taking action against him. Victor looked surprised to see Sarah and Emma, a look of confusion on his face. "What's going on? Why am I here?" Victor asked, his tone defensive. Sarah stood up, her voice firm. "We know about the thefts, Victor. We found some of our missing items in your possession, and we're here to report you to the campus authorities." Victor's expression changed from confusion to anger. "You can't prove anything. It's just your word against mine." After listening to both sides, the campus security officers informed Victor that he was not to return to Emma and Sarah's dorm. If he did not listen, he would be facing disciplinary actions. Victor pretended to be shocked and angry, but he knew that he had gotten away easily. As Sarah and Emma left the security office, not knowing if their actions would make a difference, they had stood up to Victor and ensured that authority knew of his actions.
Emma sat at her desk, going over her budget for the month. She had been working extra shifts at her part-time job to make ends meet, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As she tallied up her earnings, Emma's heart sank. There was a significant amount of money missing from her savings, money she had been saving up for months. "Sarah, I think someone has been stealing from me." Sarah looked up from her book, concern etched on her face. "What do you mean, Emma? Who would do something like that?" Emma hesitated, unsure of how to break the news to Sarah. I think it might be Victor. He's the only one who could have had access to my saving. But we reported him to campus security. He wouldn't risk stealing from us again, would he? Emma shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. I don't know, Sarah. All I know is that my money is gone, and I don't know who else it could have been. Sarah put a comforting hand on Emma's shoulder. We'll figure this out, Emma. We'll speak to Victor and get to the bottom of this. Sarah and Emma stood outside Victor's door, their hearts pounding with nervous anticipation. They had come to speak to him about the missing money and were prepared for a confrontation. As they knocked on the door, Victor opened it, looking surprised to see them. What are you guys doing here? We know about the missing money, Victor. We think you're responsible, Sarah said, her voice firm. Victor's expression changed from surprise to anger. You've got it all wrong. I would never steal from you, Emma. It must have been Sarah and Mark. They're the ones who have been acting suspicious lately. Sarah and Emma exchanged a glance, realizing that Victor was trying to turn them against each other. That's not true, Victor. We know it was you. You're the only one who could have had access to Emma's savings. Victor shook his head, a smug smile playing on his lips. You can't prove anything. It's your word against mine. But Sarah and Emma were prepared. They had gathered evidence and witnesses to support their claims, and they presented it to Victor. After reviewing the evidence, Victor's demeanor changed. He knew that he had been caught. In exchange for not involving campus security, Victor agreed to call his parents and secure the funds to repay the money he had stolen from Emma. Victor's parents, proud of his hard work and dedication to putting himself through college, immediately agreed to send him the money, believing it was for a setback with his car, as he had told them. Emma reminded Victor that if she found anything else missing, she would report him to the campus police, and as a repeat offender, he would likely be expelled. She gave him 24 hours to return anything else he may have taken from her or Sarah that they were not yet aware of. I can't believe Victor would do something like this. I thought I knew him, Sarah said, breaking the silence. Emma nodded, her expression somber. I know what you mean. I trusted him, and he betrayed that trust. I'm sorry, Sarah. I am the one to let him into our lives. I should have listened to you when you told me to stop making excuses about Victor's behavior. I let my jealousy of the great relationship you have with Mark get in the way of our friendship. I guess, I really wanted Victor and my relationship to be like you guys. I was embarrassed when Victor would be Victor. It's not your fault, Emma. We were all blindsided by Victor's actions. But we need to move past this. Emma nodded, feeling a sense of relief that Sarah was willing to forgive her. I agree. Our friendship is more important than any boy. Sarah and Emma sat at a table in the coffee shop, sipping their drinks and chatting animatedly. Months had passed since Emma and Sarah confronted Victor, but today, rumors spread across campus about Victor and a girl he was dating. It was said they had a heated argument over Victor taking her credit card and car, then disappearing for the entire weekend. Gossip suggested that the girl's brother, who had graduated and lived about an hour away, was waiting to confront Victor upon his return. The brother had retrieved his sister's vehicle and made sure law enforcement was aware of Victor's actions, labeling him a felony credit card thief. He even took to social media, exposing Victor's rumored past offenses that had gone unpunished, allowing him to continue victimizing fellow students. Unhappy with the negative attention and the college's lack of action, they expelled Victor. Local authorities were said to be pressing charges for his latest offenses, ensuring that Victor would face the consequences of his actions this time. Graduation day. Sarah, Emma, and Mark stood together, clad in their graduation gowns, smiles plastered on their faces. They had come a long way since the drama of their college years, and they were proud of how far they had come. As they walked across the stage to receive their diplomas, they knew that their friendship was stronger than ever. They had faced challenges and obstacles, but they had emerged victorious, their bond unbreakable. As they threw their caps into the air, celebrating their accomplishments and their enduring friendship, Sarah, Emma, and Mark knew that they were embarking on a new chapter of their lives, one filled with promise, hope, and the unwavering support of each other.